adjust your calendars. It is not Thursday, it is Wednesday. A special episode because the judge can't do it tomorrow. So we will unfortunately not be able to do it tomorrow night. But what we will be able to do is a wee judge's verdict tonight instead. So we're looking forward to that. And it's going to be the judge's verdict. It's going to give us a half-term report. And that's going to involve just sort of, I mean, the judge's verdict's all a bit of a banner, as you know. Or is it? But it's definitely, we're going to go through a few aspects, starting from the summer onwards and up to this point, and what he's enjoyed, what he's not enjoyed, what we can critique, and we'll probably enter into a pretty good back and forth debate about it. And of course, as always, when we're on, we're looking forward to reading you guys' opinions as well. We can only apologise if anyone's a bit confused that we're on a Wednesday, but it's just how the bus rolls. We do what we want. If you've not hit the bell, it's your problem. You've got to hit that bell, Mark, and you never miss a bus. Remember to give us a wee like, give us a share, buy some hair, all that, carry on. And of course, if you want to become a Bhoycie Bus member, like so many have, it is $1.99 a month. The content is always free. Girls like Flash, like Pato, like Martin, like Alex, like Smell the Glove, like Alistair Jack. They're all Bhoycie Bus members. It's only $1.99, but everyone is welcome. And remember that the content will always remain free. See, we're getting pelters already. You never told us you're on tonight. How rude. This is what we do. It's what we do. We're just spontaneous on the bus. It's how we roll. Piesports.com, tasty pastry treat, 12.5% off at the checkout. Loads of great selection of pies there. Get stuck in. Use the code BUS1888 and you will get that discount applied. Anything else, Mark? Have I missed anything?
No, I think that's it. No.
Buy a program. Fucking
buy it, of course. Buy a
program on the way out. You bunch of cunts. You know what I mean? remember and buy the Bhoycie Bus Christmas calendar that's coming out. Marc's agreed to pose in all the new merch.
Yes. I'm going to use the lid off my cork to hide my gentleman's region voice. Reduces phone for you listen or watching.
And of course, we've got the Christmas single coming out soon as well, Bhoycie's Wish. So keep your ears out for that as well. Yeah. I just hope folk leave all this. Right, okay. Where were we? Right, let's get stuck into it. Mark, we decided to go along the lines because it's International Weekend. It's fucking doing my head in this. I was talking the other week, we were in the nitty gritty. This is the big period. And we got like 4 or 5 games in, and there's another international break. It must be after this one, we're into the nitty gritty. I must have got my timelines confused as well. So, as we are here, it would be the October break if we were at school, for example. So, we're going to call it the half-term report. We're going to go through a few aspects of Celtic's campaign so far, and we'll see what you think of how it's went. Now, Terry Robb, the man from the PMP, he supplied us with a lot of good talking points. You've seen that in the group chat, didn't you? Yeah. So, I'll put them to you. You come back, and then I'll probably come back at you with some counter arguments or in agreement or whatever it may be. So we'll go back to the summer. And obviously this season was going to be, not to cover old ground too much, but in the summer we knew it was going to be our 3rd year in a row of guaranteed group stage football. We also knew in that summer that by winning the league this year, we wouldn't have guaranteed group stage football. So we'd already blown it, if you like, you know, that amazing advantage of 3 years of guaranteed group stage by not doing enough in the competition during the 2 years previously to get the coefficient points up high enough for us to get that 4th year in a row of automatic group stage qualification for winning the league. So what we ended up with was a summer here where I think the penny drops with Celtic. They're always reactive, Mark. And it's almost like they've gone, shit, this is shite that if we win the league this year, we don't. Right, let's make the biggest push we've made for it so far in the summer. You know, should have done this last summer. Anyway, the summer recruitment occurs, most of it late in the day. Obviously, there was the major outgoing of Matt O'Reilly. Joe Hart obviously was leaving, but we knew that since February, so that was no surprise. Talk to me about the recruitment strategy. Not quite based, I don't want you to turn it into what we've seen so far, but just what you thought the optics of the window were. Now it's long shut, and we can all reflect, and we can see the money that came in, we can see the money that Celtic spent, we can look at the timing of the deals, we can look at the profile of the players that came in. What's your sort of thoughts on the window overall? Highlights, lowlights, you take it away.
Well, I think they get pass marks for the actual recruitment on the day of the window closing. You know what I mean? I think if you just looked at the recruitment without looking at the actual background of the window, I think we covered when aspects of the defence which need covered. You know what I mean? I think there's maybe a player in Bali that I never seen. There's certainly an option now for Trusty. Whether he's going to be number one, I don't know. I doubt it. But we've also seen an able replacement for O'Reilly, striker we all wanted, Ida in, and we've also, without spending a penny, we've managed to strengthen our wingers by good work on training ground. So I feel like the club has done the business right. The timing of the rest of it, we both agree was pretty off. You know, I think we've noticed now that some players maybe missed out in that key Brendan time during the summertime when Cooney's mentioned a couple of times. See that work on the training ground, that you can't replace that, Bhoycie. So I think in that aspect, the transfer, when you look at it, the transfer window was a success. But there's mitigating factors in that. I mean, for instance, I do think that we held off buying Engels until we sold Riley, and I think we should have done the both for him. I think we should have bought Engels with the plan to sell O'Reilly. If it didn't happen, then great, you've got a strong midfield going into the Champions League.
But so do you think Engels was targeted by Brendan to supplement O'Reilly, or supplement our midfield, shall we say, not just to supplement O'Reilly, regardless of whether he went in or out? Do you think he was a target that Brendan wanted to bring in the summer either way? Or do you think he's who they identified if the likelihood is that Matt O'Reilly goes, or the inevitable, I should say, then make sure we've got the sort of foundations laid for Engels to come in? Or do you think he would have wanted him to come in regardless? That wasn't actually a contributing factor.
Well, I think O'Reilly was going to go, but answering your question, I think I look at Celtic's transfer window like a vending machine. You know what I mean? That we'll have targets lined up, and should one of our players go, the next one they come down is lined up. And I do think to our luck, and I don't know how it happened, I think Engels has been the number one choice, boys. Normally we get to choice 2 or 3. We don't know about choice 1 or 2, but we get to choice 2 or 3 before we get him over the window. I think there's been factors with Engels. I think maybe his age, maybe money available for the big spending teams in Germany, and possibly a couple of factors we don't know about have come into why Engels didn't get snapped up by one of the bigger clubs in Germany, or even England for that matter. So I think we got lucky there. But as I say, like, I don't give the club too much credit, because you know what, me and you're on the same wavelength when it comes to the club. You know, I think they fly with the seat of their pants kind of guys and see what happens next stuff. But I think Rodgers had this guy lined up. I certainly believe that the groundwork was done on this, possibly even the previous window, which is what we're hoping it is getting done. And I think he's just been the first one on that vending machine, you know, ready to fall down or whatever. And I think Celtic I think you can look at it both ways, boys. And I think if we were to just park the timing as well to the side, I think the window, considering we get rid of Bain being second choice, we've got another unknown in Sarasota. But the fact that we've at least addressed these areas of the park is a step in the right direction, I think, for the club, and perhaps a sign of things to come.
See, if you're sitting on the board, right, for example, and you think you've been always doing a good job, right, which maybe they do, maybe they don't, how ridiculous would it feel, right, for fans like us who could be accused of being negative or naysayers? I just call it, calling it as you see it, bring balance to any debate, good and bad. How fucked off would you feel if you genuinely think you've always been doing a good job, and then you went further up beyond, above and beyond this summer, to hear it described as we've took a step in the right direction? I mean, I think it's damning that's. And by the way, in wholehearted agreement with you, I describe it as a step in the right direction. That's what enthuses me. But it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be we've took a step in the right direction. We've had long enough of the monopoly on Scottish football over the last 2 decades to not be by what are we in year 20 of, nearly complete domination. Let's be real.
Yeah,
Of Scottish football, the odd cup, the odd title's been lost, and that is the reality, whether people like it or not. For us to be then 20 years down this sort of line of being the real dominant force, far and far away, in fact, none more so than now. It's damning to be describing it as we took a step in the right direction this summer. If you're in that boat, hearing that would drive you bonkers, but I think you're absolutely right. That's how I would describe it. A step in the right direction. Now we look at the areas of the park that we wanted to strengthen. Now this is before we knew of any of the incomings, because predominantly they were later in the window. So we knew we needed a keeper. We got Casper in. For me, no problem. I think that'll be Celtic's kind of. I think Celtic will become. See, they're known for being like a club who you get them there, Celtic develop them, they get Champions League football, they get a winning mentality, and then they go for big money. And that's now actually quite attractive to players such as Engels, leaving a top 3 world league to join Celtic. I think tells you we've got a reputation for that. I also think we're beginning to get, among the goalkeepers union, a reputation for, hey, if Celtic come calling you in your mid-30s, no matter how glittering your career's been, and you're maybe not wanted as much at the big club you were at, there's the place to go to see it out. And I just wonder if that's going to become kind of our remit for goalkeepers. And by the way, I'm all for it, because predominantly our team, as you pointed to earlier on about the age thing, our team across the board tends to be pretty young these days. You can't put a price on having real valuable experience at the top level as your last line of defence being the goalkeeper. So the Schmeichel one for me, with a youngster coming in as well, signed I think almost in the same day if I remember correctly, or it was announced, or Solo was announced, but we all knew Schmeichel at that point was coming in too. That to me, that department, I thought big tick and done at a decent time. We then look at the midfield area, and that's where I get slightly confused. Bernardo, they haggled to 2.5 million. Down to 3.5. People celebrate that like a trophy. You get £3 million for winning a Champions League game. Paulo Bernardo with a full pre-season helps increase the opportunity for that 3 million. Again, that's just my opinion. I don't think it's right that who's done a year with Celtic, had that year's progress broken up. When you look at a player's career, he didn't need to go back to Benfica, knowing he wouldn't get a game there, and actually be in limbo for a while as to whether the deal was going ahead. I think you've got to be fair and go, we want to keep you. You've just done a year with us. Show the respect and just get him straight in. And by the way, he was viewed as a Champions League player last year. He's better version this year. He increases your chances of recouping the extra 2.2 million or whatever it would have been to buy him. We signed as well, obviously the Engels one we've touched on, but then we signed Luke McCowan. I think that was nearly the last day of the window. I'm not quite sure how deals for Luke McCowan for Dundee become protracted, Mark. And I don't think that one we could say hinges on the O'Reilly departure. So the midfield one for me looks like Bernardo was identified by Brendan throughout the season as, I want to keep him. We got him late. Luke McCowan was going to be the wild card signing Brendan, I'm guessing, wanted to make, because he was 26. He's not going to be a bold suggestion, or a Celtic, if you want to call it that, suggestion. That was his wild card signing. Why did it take so long to get made? That wouldn't have been a difficult deal to complete for us financially, or looking at the team we're buying from, wouldn't be hard to work with. And then you've got the Engels one. I'm going to suggest, I think, was provided O'Reilly leaves, you get Engels. And I think that one I can kind of understand. The other two, though, for me, too late. I think that they joined Celtic. What do you make of the midfield thing?
No, you're spot on. It's almost like they're trying to juggle with too many balls, but they don't really know who's catching it. You know what I mean? It's like they don't know what's going on. Like, I think the manager kind of got a bit frustrated in the last 10 days of the window. He was mentioning time scales. He was mentioning frustrations. We always say that when he says something in a press conference, it's normally well thought of. He really speaks without thinking about what he's saying, and I think he kind of echoes your frustration with it. And I think as well for talk's sake, you mentioned Luke McCowan there. I mean, Bhoycie, I think that deal took a matter of hours to start, create, finish. You know what I mean? I don't think it took long at all. And why was he no one in week 2? Why was he no one in America? I mean, surely to God, Celtic's plan wasn't, well, we like Tony Dock. We'll give him 8-10 weeks with him. We'll give him first team football with Dundee and then we'll bring him in. Celtic don't think that way. Surely the football plan would be bring him in, get him in this system. You know, we've got a wee gem here. Let him play some.
Is it another one that Brendan's had to convince them of?
Maybe because as you said, he's 26.
They were maybe look for him to.
He's 26. He's probably key selling age for Celtic. So, no, I dare say Celtic supplement their squad throughout their short history. That I've been watching them weigh these £1-2 million kind of players that they don't expect to make money
Here
off.
and now players.
Aye, yeah, they'll make an impact. We won't make a profit on them. They'll not be too expensive, but they'll do the jersey proud. He might fall into that category in terms of the club's strategy. Rodgers might see something different in there. I personally think we might have a starting player in our hands. I genuinely, I don't know what it is about this boy. I think this boy might just be somebody that nobody's thought how good he is.
Stars have aligned, mate.
I think the boy's he's so energetic. I knew when he came on against Ross County that we're going to have energy. And I like that in a Celtic midfielder. I think, as I said before, box to box, Celtic need that, and we'll be missing that for a while. And just very touching quickly on your point about the board, when they're in their mindset thinking, oh, we should be getting praise rather than just, one step forward. Well, it's a step in the right direction. Do you know something? See, even if you're a board member, I watched that AGM for Inverness Cali last night on YouTube. You should watch that, Bhoycie. See if you're a board member, get into a board meeting, an AGM, to announce £100 million profit, and your hands are shaking with nerves. That tells you exactly the job you're doing isn't as good as you think it is. So there shouldn't have any surprises about the stain about the club. But I did get your point, like the fact that they're thinking, oh, everything's fine and rosy. We've won the league. We're winning doubles. This should be Celtic progression rather than a step in the right direction. And I think, don't get me wrong, I think they're nose blind to a lot of things, Bhoycie. But we can all see that the Celtic board are going wrong. I think this club just need the shackles took off them. I think Rodgers is picking the shackles off the club, boys. I think if Rodgers had his own way, I think we would have spent 50 million in that window. I really do. Without a doubt.
Well, let's touch on that quick, because Plunge McNugget comes in. Great to have you on, Plunge. And he's saying Luke McCowan was the last minute signing because Brendan actually wanted Bogus. Unfortunately, he was coming from, was it an MLS side? It wasn't it?
Yeah,
he's the Polish player, but couldn't get him, and that's what's led to. I mean, I think that's a fair theory. To be honest with you, Plunge, I think that is a fair theory, and I guess that would mean it was, to bring Ingles back into it. I think it was always going to be. If I think the fee with Bogus, if I'm right, was it 6 to 8 million, between 6 and 8 million? Was that about right?
Yeah, we bid for him as well. So, and then they wanted to try and add bells and whistles onto it, and Celtic said no, as Celtic would. But I'm glad they said no, because if it was Bogus or Ingles, I get the impression they've signed the right one, the right person.
Because I can't see them paying between 6 and 8 million for one and 11 for another as a two midfielder. Like I don't see that. So, yeah, I wonder if that's a near miss. And I'm glad you've said about Luke McCowan there. I made the prediction after his first game. I think you're seeing someone who, out of the 8 Champions League games, might become 10, which will work in my favour. I think you'll see him start one of them. I think he will start a Champions League game as this season progresses. And bear in mind, Champions League runs to January for us already right now, Europe after Christmas and all that. I think that we'll see Luke McCowan start one of the games. Then, the Ida one, I think we've covered it loads, but again, he benefits for the America trip. What I want your take on, though, when it comes to the recruitment side over the summer, Marc, we're seeing now the competition between Kyogo and Ida, and we're seeing the styles make fights thing with them both as well. Because I think we were raving about Ida last week, and then obviously at the weekend, he has the quiet first half. But the brilliant thing about that is Celtic had loads of games when Kyogo was starting last season. We were still just as dull. Right? See, when you're dealing with that type of player, and then you've got Kyogo coming on who's just a complete flip, a complete opposite conundrum. It's such a wonderful combination that you've got there of options. Ida, I would have liked to have got the pre-season as well, and I think it did take his time to get started. I wanted a fair fight for the get-go, and I think, to be honest with you, Kyogo had the head start on him again, just like he did when he joined on loan. Is that fair? And also, would you have liked to have seen another striker come in the summer as well? Because obviously O left, but we were bemoaning the fact we only had 2 strikers last season as well. That's not changed.
Well, you're spot on. It's not changed. I think the level of ability has changed, but you're spot on. We've only got 2 strikers. I mean, there's only. I mean, and one is very injury prone with his shoulder and his whatever. But you're spot on. I think Engels. I think either if this was game 20 this season, if you include the pre-season games, if this was game 20 with 10, 15 starts like Kyogo, you see a different version of Ida just now. I think Ida is showing signs of somebody who has missed a pre-season. You listen to any ex-pro boy and they'll tell you about how important pre-season is. You listen to any modern manager, they'll tell you about how little time they've got with the squad. And even just now, we're talking a 2-week break.
I mean, he had one with Norwich just for ballot. I mean, he did have one with Norwich.
But that was broke up with.
He didn't get in the squad one time
I
because
think
he
it's
was refusing to play. There was the aeroplane photos and all that. Mind.
That's right. And he joined the training camp 2 days late because something with his phone or something stupid like that. And I think when the mind's disrupted, Bhoycie, so is the body. And when your mind's in a different place altogether, I don't think you perform the way you're supposed to.
I think that's fair. Left-sided defence, we needed to sort out. We needed the left back. We needed the left-sided centre back. We all knew this. Now we bring in one again. It's much later in the day. I do believe when you're shopping in the English market that it's trickier to get players earlier in the window. That was my argument. You know, the summer of 23. But in Trusty's case, it actually looked like we brought him in for a fee that their club were happy to accept, and the manager wasn't. So again, he was available prior. Their club were happy to do business at that 6 million fee. It was actually their manager who kicked off about losing him for that after it. And then we bring in, of course, Alex Valle, whatever it's called. I'm going to go with Valle, for Barcelona on loan. Now, one loan player in a window is not too bad for us. My concern was, I think many fans wanted someone that was going to make Greg Taylor have what was going to be a 50-50 tussle. By the way, time may tell that is what we end up getting. But obviously the optics of a 20-year-old coming on a 1-year loan would be he's going to be understudy, really. That's just how it looks. It might not transpire that way, of course. And we need to give that an opportunity because in the loan market, we have had many successes also. Why not him be the next one? Left-sided centre-back addressed as well. I think you were happy with that.
Definitely. I think we were leading something in there, boys. I think what we've seen is the second choices through the full defence. And by second choices, I mean the non-starters are becoming, it's falling off a cliff. You know, I mean, it has just like, I think Bernabe to Taylor was a chasm. And I even think Scales to Welsh and Navrocki, I'm not seeing enough of him, but what we saw for the backups last season, there was no competition. And to their credit, the likes of Scales didn't drop his performance levels. he had a bare minimum. I think Taylor had a decent season. I don't think the players who needed replaced, their performances dropped because of lack of competition. I think far from it, they excelled in some stages. But I think that any fan knows that left centre back and left back were areas that we needed covered. And on paper, we're covered.
Did you say covered, or we needed to get?
Well,
I think it was.
No, sorry, I'll rephrase that. We should have. No, I say cover. We should have covered those positions. We should have strengthened those positions. And I feel like we could have strengthened in a lot. I feel like we could have strengthened in Maeda's position as well. But he's a box of frogs, Bhoycie. And do you know what? I think if he lost him tomorrow, I think he'd be a crucial piece of this jigsaw missing. So I think I was wrong there. But
well, that leads me on nicely. Marc.
So we're going to keep going.
So it's a segue. You've just done it. See, you think we rehearsed all this in the house? We do. We actually have been on doing this since 4 o'clock. This is the second one. Player improvements from last year. I think that's been the real eye catcher. Whilst recruitment's obviously something that's such a focal point, first and foremost because, and I stand by this, capturing a fan's imagination means recruitment. Right, in terms of, oh my God, we've signed Engels. That captured imagination, mate, because of the fee. It fucking did, right? And these are moments that fans deserve, as you know, paying customers first and foremost, but football fanatics, and you know that would do anything for the club. They deserve moments of imagination, and Engels looked like a bit like that.
Yeah.
But take away the recruitment side, and you can't deny, and I hate the saying, but some players have been, he's like a new signing. And I think there has been vast improvements. Maeda is someone who I think had a very good season last year, to be fair, as well. I think he's been the one that I discussed this before with Terry. If there was a hierarchy of the three Japanese players we've got, the three-pronged attack, you've got Maeda, you've got Itati, a creative midfielder, Maeda on the wing or sometimes up top, and Kyogo is the sort of, the poster boy striker. If Rodgers was to rank all three as to most indispensable, I genuinely think Maeda would be his top now, right now. That's just my honest opinion. Now, that's just the way I see it. I think he's became the guy Rodgers goes, oh no. And maybe you're right, box of frogs, box of tricks, whatever you want to call it, doesn't know what's happening, trapping balloons at birthday parties 1 minute, scoring worldies the next. It's what he is. But that work ethic, that madness that he brings to our front line will baffle any defender, no matter what the level is, because he's on your tail the whole game. When you think you're away for him, you're not away for him. When you think you've got 5 seconds on the ball, you've got half a second, right? If you're in that back line. And he is someone that I think Rodgers is now building. He's not building the team around him, but he's one of the first names on that sheet for Rodgers now. And I think he has, Rodgers, I'm sure, will think to himself, I've improved his all-round game as well. He's going to deliver better numbers this year than he ever has for Celtic. We've seen that in his goal-scoring returns so far. I think there's other examples though as well. We're looking at players that are, Callum McGregor to me looks levels above what he was last year. People are going to attribute that, for example, Marc, to the Scotland retirement thing. I mean, that's not had enough time to play out for us to have a clue. I just think that Rodgers got to grips with him and he's known his role better this year or whatever it's been. He looks re-energised. AJ at right back last year deserved plenty critique from the 6 months he had before to the fall off I felt that he had last year. I think this season started slow and is now growing again. And he looks now more like the guy that we signed that January when the Croatian internationalist left. But there's other examples as well. William Scales is playing again, I think, a level above our expectancy, but maybe 2 levels above our expectancy, because our expectancy level has probably not changed to William Scales. And last year he was a level above that. This year I think he's maybe even a couple of levels above that. But there does seem to be improvements. Right, Bernardo we spoke about earlier. That is just as important as recruitment, isn't it? Is getting the guys you've now worked with for a year to be pushing on and evolving as players as well. And I think we are seeing examples of that across the team too.
Look at 2016 Celtic, and I mean, 9 of the 8 players were Brendan Rodgers players that he inherited and turned them into a new level of player. And we saw Nicholas Kuhn this season. I think Nicholas Kuhn looks every bit as much a £10 million player as what anybody else does. I thought he's been a fucking fantastic signing now that he's kicked off. Maybe he's a player that he knew he was one day before a couple of bad moves and a couple of moves that maybe didn't work out for him. But you mentioned
what did you make of his spiky character at the weekend? I liked it. I said to Terry, I went, mate, I didn't know he had that in him. I always thought he was a bit bland. He's sometimes hesitant on the ball. I wanted him to be more direct. Like, just believe in yourself. Like, don't need to skin 3 players going across the way before you let fly. He was wound up right for the get-go. He sort of put his head towards that Ross County player. It was fucking nothing like. It was but he seemed like right animated, and I thought, wow. Not only is his performances going up, but I think that's when you know someone's taking on greater responsibility. It's when you start seeing them now getting fucked off and things aren't going their way. Whereas before he looked like a bit of a bridesmaid in the Celtics team last season. Watching for the size, trying to contribute a bit, but not really part of the party. And this year, it's now like, not only is his numbers showing and his performances showing, but he's looking now, Marc, isn't he? Like he's now giving a fuck. I see when you see that animation, I like it because he channeled it into that finish that we've seen, late on. And I thought, and he jumps into the crowd. He just seemed a wee bit like he had the bit between his teeth. And I'm not sure I had him down for being like that up until the weekend. But I think that's a player's evolution happening as well. And I'm glad that you highlighted him.
Well, I think it's Celtic. It's a big jersey to wear, but there's also a lot of eyes on you, and I don't think you walk in. Well, most folk don't walk in and start throwing their weight about and start to be cock of the walk straight away. I think you need to bed yourself into Celtic, and I think you have to prove yourself. I think at Celtic you need to prove your character after you prove how good you are at football. You know what I mean? I think you have to prove your footballing ability before your character can develop. Otherwise, you get guys like Cantwell, who's not got much um, talent really, but a big character. And Celtic haven't got space for that, Bhoycie, and I think maybe he was rightfully maybe just sitting on the edge, just and then try to build yourself a name first at Celtic before he became a character. And you might find that some players surprise you. Some players are very, on the edge of things, you know what I mean? And then slowly but surely they become key figures within the squad. And then you see them start shouting at players. They start to, rather than holding the jerseys, they're flinging they're throwing the first punch. And that's a big difference at Celtic.
What did you make of him at the weekend?
I thought his performance wasn't his best of the seasons, but he you mentioned he stood up to that player, which is great. I think Celtic have got too many pussies in the squad, but also to have the mentality to run in the last minute or two, ignore the easy pass to Kyogo, take responsibility and put in the bottom corner. That is, you can do that in training every day of the week, Bhoycie, but see doing that when the time pressure's on you, when the cameras are on you, when the fans are on you, and when it really matters and do or die moments, it's a totally different kettle of fish, you know what I mean? And
he didn't think about it, that's why it worked.
Yes,
he
and
was so set on us fucking winning that he's done that, mate. It's just all natural.
Yeah,
see the way he cuts in, he's put that in that corner. He's not thought that through. It's done.
And it does that. Like, there's like muscle, and there's something called muscle memory. Things you just do, and I think there's obviously just things you do, like and as I say, that's the sort of thing he'll do at the 7-a-sides every day in training. You know what I mean? He'll do that and he'll do it in bounce games, but to have the composure to do it in the big moments at Celtic, and make no mistake, Pittodrie in the last minute, or Ross County in the last minute or the first minute, when you're playing for Celtic, every moment is a big moment. There's no doubt about it. You know what I mean? This isn't a joke. Celtic isn't a joke. You know what I mean? This is the demands of this club, all relative, but the demands of this club are only demands you can feel it maybe 4 or 5 other clubs in the world. I'm not just trying to
totally agree with that's totally true.
You know what I mean? All relative, of course, but the demands are very, very high. A win is a minimum. You can even win and still lose Judge Cairney. Roy Dyler about that. It's just
true.
It's just that some players have got that mentality where they can. Some players will have moments at Celtic. Players will have moments, but not every player can consistently give you good performances, stand up when it counts, and be the man that can win you a match time after time. And Kuhn's not got there yet, but what Kuhn's shown this season is he's performed in the big matches so far pretty well. He's performed in the 4-5-0s pretty well, and he stood up in Saturday there.
Great
Europe
point.
was a bit of a write-off for him, but I think if we can forgive Cal McGregor, if we can forgive Kasper Schmeichel, we can forgive anybody in the park that night. Sometimes things don't happen for you. And just very quickly, I try to make this point on
sorry, mate. Go on.
Just this one very point. Just that I thought about this over the week that pre-match last Tuesday, Celtic were getting tipped to take points off of Dortmund. Even one, maybe some pundits, this is pundits here that have played in Germany, etc. Had Celtic went into that match with the confidence that they've got, tipped to get points with the players on the crest of their wave, the fans behind this club, 100%. Had he went into that game with a total change in tactics, lost 3 or 4-0, thought I tried to suggest after the event we did, but changed the tactics and lost 3 or 4-0. Had we did that, the criticism that Rodgers would have received for being a bottle merchant would have been twice as much as what he's getting just now. So I think there's sometimes a wee bit of, we can reflect on a bad night for Celtic and an unacceptable scoreline, but can see that it was a lose-lose situation there after the event for Celtic, because had we went in there, as I say, the other factors, the fans are on board, the players are on board, the pundits tipping them to get points on the crest of their wave. Had we did what some folk, the Monday morning quarterbacks suggested we do, to play defensive, but lose 2 or 3-0, what's better than losing 7. Had we did that, the queue for folk to say our bottle jobs would have been through the roof. We've been round the corner, back round again. So I think that was something that I couldn't really relay in my message, my tweet the other day there, but I think it's got to be remembered, and I think the players had a night, according to my dad, everything that Celtic had to missed and everything they had to score. That happens every so often. You get a perfect storm in football, and if that's Celtic getting that result out the way, getting that perfect storm out the way, then we'll be better for it. But I just don't buy this narrative that Roger doesn't change things. He's a one track minded man, and he's another Ange Postecoglou. I just doesn't man it up for me. He's the best in-game manager we've seen in a long time at Celtic.
Yeah.
Like some of that criticism was no unfounded, boys. It was just over the top.
It's interesting. I mean, I always like to compare with, and again, my generation of watching Celtic slightly shorter than yours. I know you described yours as your short history of watching Celtic. Mine's even shorter. Just getting that in there. I always go back to, people used to say, Marc, he didn't do anything with tactics. He just listed the players, shouted out. I always go back to, and it was also he was too stubborn. So if we had a bad result, it was, he does 3-5-2. It's all he can play. It's all he knows. And then we go to Ibrox, where Lovingkran's up. I think the last 3 or 4 games have been having a bit of a field day, and for them, and we go to Ibrox, and he brings McNamara into the team, makes him captain, and we go 4-4-2 and win. Mm-hmm. And no one sees that coming. And this was a guy getting described at the time with these bigger. It's been sussed 3-5-2, and he's too pig-headed to change it. It's all he knows. There's no changes. There's nothing that will surprise you with Celtic. They'll do what they do. They'll blow teams away. But then when it comes to the nitty-gritty, they won't change. That was pretty poignant at the time. And Rangers were having a wee bit of a very bizarrely fluky spell under McLeish, right? But at the end of the day, they were doing okay against us. And I always remember that 4-4-2 switch. And I thought the man management stuff, we could talk about to the cows come home, by making McNamara captain, bringing him into the team when he's not starting many games, then giving him the armband. That's just to give you that boost to fucking get the best possible out of you. But it's the formation tweak and bringing Jackie in to play that right back, or whatever, if there were a gap played right back and Jack Manter played one up. I can't quite remember, but the 4-4-2 thing, you went, oh, hello. He doesn't know he doesn't change anything, does he? Well, there's the acid test against your arch rivals in a bona fide title race when both teams are pretty fucking decent sides. He was willing to go for the first time playing a 4-4-2 there at those stakes. So I agree with you. I think, if O'Neill, who's maybe not as technically minded on the tactical side of things as a Rodgers, for example, who we know is well versed in it, if he could change it then, don't ever think Rodgers can't. I think with the European thing, though, to touch on it quickly, I think if we get a similar result against Atlanta playing the same way, I think the conversation does change then.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah, because that's a consistent run of bad results. I mentioned to my dad just the other day there, like around off, because it has been put to Rodgers, like we've lost 7 here and 6 there. Now, see these results, it wasn't Werder Bremen. We lost against the elite of the elite. We are a £1 billion strike force, PSG, a Barcelona team that contained your Messi's and the rest.
The MSN, wasn't it? Neymar, Suarez, and Messi.
Yeah, I look at PSG's front three: Mbappe, Cavani, and it was a little boy, maybe Neymar at the time as well. And you go,
yeah,
they can destroy teams and leagues in their own league who is getting the £500 million transfer kitties. They can go to Newcastle and beat them 7-8-0. You know what I mean? These teams. So to beat a team at Scotland for getting £2 million for winning the title, it's no great shock. Sometimes, as Rodgers said, sometimes even your good players, when you play against players who are just better than them, they just don't play good. I mean, and I think sometimes you just get his perfect storm.
His previous records clouding it a bit, innit?
Aye, it is. And it's like, but what I forget is, see if you look at his previous 2 matches before that, you get back-to-back home wins in the Champions League. All right, one was against Feyenoord.
Good. I know, but it's fair argument, mate.
So, yep, and you know something, on the Wednesday or the Thursday after we beat that team 5-1, there was no talk about how Rodgers had the changing things. There was none of it. The conversations, I always say you can't have it both ways. The conversation's got to be consistent. You've got to say...
So see when we beat Feyenoord and it was a dead rubber, how many of the bigger defeats Rodgers had, and I don't know, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm going to guess a minimum of one were a dead rubber.
Mm-hmm.
Never hear that bit.
No, you don't.
I've not heard of one Celtic defeat that was a dead rubber defeat.
No, it's right.
Have you?
No, that is true.
There has to have been. There has to have been going by our points tallies.
Of course. I mean,
so there's definitely been dead rubber games there that we've lost under Brendan, and yet it always seems to be this overall record of defeats. Yet when we get a win like that, it's brilliant you've said that. 2 home games in a row, two Champions League home wins out of his last 2. That's a brilliant argument to present.
Aye. And the media can't get enough of it. I mean, I listened to Off the Ball 2 weeks ago when we beat that team 5-1. It was a very, 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 very quick mention that Celtic won. Let's do a Celtic one. Carried on. There was almost combined about 40 minutes talking about Celtic. Even when they invited Kenny McIntyre. Kenny, what do you think? Oh, some bad result. What about Celtic? They get the last 7 goals, Kenny. No, they couldn't wait. It was Tom Cowan, of course. You know what I mean? Motherwell man for that neck of the woods. Rangers fan. But anyway, they couldn't wait, and I thought to myself that this is the thing. This is why I love it, because they'll nitpick and they'll squeeze every bit of juice out of Celtic losing because they can't stomach the fact that we're just so far in front of everybody else. You notice any title for O'Neill came in until May there. Anytime we win the league, it's a poor league.
Yeah.
Did they get mentioned? Did only gets mentioned when Celtic win the league. It's amazing how, as well, you remember this, boys, because you're not much younger than me. See, John 9 in a row. I can't remember listening to a football phone or having a conversation with anybody and them mentioning how good it would be for Scottish football if somebody else won a title, or if a strong Celtic makes a good league. But they mentioned once by the press or media, never once. The Celtic are winning. It can't be fun for the Celtic fans winning all the time. I can assure you it's fucking glorious. But it happens all the time. Like, they can't wait to go, you're winning, but you enjoying it? Aye, I'm enjoying it. Do you see the fireworks and pyros bouncing at the stadium when we're scoring goals against you? We're loving it. But it's like the media there's always like, they're always trying to rain on your wedding day, Bhoycie, you know what I mean? And
you're right.
Anytime Rangers win, it's like they've won in merit, and there's no other discussion on the fact that they've got good players. When Celtic win, it's full of these caveats. And when the same thing goes to Europe, like, even when we're winning, it's like we're fighting, with both hands. You know what I mean? We're fighting the media and we're fighting other clubs at the same time, and it's just constant. And when Celtic they get a bad result, and when they take a few horsings, believe it or not, Celtic fans don't like to see Celtic getting horsed, but I think we're feeding that monster when we go over the top ourselves. Losing 7 goals is not acceptable for Celtic. But see if we're in the EPL.
Coming for it.
Aye. Is that?
Coming for you.
Coming for it, exactly. I do know what? I am the first to overreact. But sometimes you can go.
Fucking hell, Matt. I had to say that, mate. I didn't mean it in a bad way. I was like,
no, listen, 100%. Anybody that listens to me, sometimes, see, like Twitter and all this, Bhoycie, it's like, if you're sitting watching a game with somebody sitting there and you go, fuck, that was a bad pass. It's forgot about seeing it's in writing.
Totally.
It's the perception of that is totally different. You know what I mean? You go, fuck, Joyce, and get him half a day. When you type it and it's online, it's a totally different.
That's true. Very true, mate.
I don't sit at Celtic Park and start going, oh fuck. We all, you know what I mean? But I'm just
but if someone's sitting in the stands and goes, oh, what the fuck is that? You'd be shite all game, ex-player. Right, whatever it may be. 20 folk around you don't go, you're not even a real Celtic fan, you.
I know.
No one does that. Do you know what I mean? So I hear what you're saying in the writings.
And then quote you for last January while they're at
it. So that leads us again, segues. Match the experience this year, Mark, because you're obviously the best person to ask because you're back at the Champions League. Marc Cairney qualified for the Champions League this year, ladies and gentlemen. He's back at the big table. And I know we've discussed it before, so I don't want to bore people with the same conversation. I just love that on a personal note, having known you for the 2.5 years and having debated, never fell out or anything like that. But I said that I thought it was one of the saddest things I ever said. I don't mean sad as in a negative. I actually mean as in, I think that's really sad to hear that. That's sad to hear that you're apathetic towards Celtic in Europe, and then this year you're back in the big time. I've just been invaded by Bobo. Bobo's just running in the building. Hello. But yeah, do you know what I mean? I think when it comes to your appetite for the Champions League coming back, that tells me your enjoyment levels of Celtic this year so far this season had got to such a state where I'm going to actually invest the money this time, not give away my Champions League ticket. I'm going there. I love that. That tells me you've been impressed by what you've seen so far.
Oh, without a doubt, Bhoycie, I think domestically the football has been at a level that we've not seen for a good while. I also, also feel like Celtic. I don't know. I think Celtic fan base. See when Celtic get together as a collective, it's a juggernaut, and I feel like we're still winning this juggernaut. Barring that bad result and barring a bad performance this Sunday, we're still winning this cresty away, in my opinion. I don't think it's been disrupted too much, and that breeds confidence. That bleeds you into dreaming again. Do I think Celtic will win the Champions League? No. But I can definitely tell you with a straight face that I think Celtic have got a good chance of getting points in this group and we'll get through at the last 24. I still believe that to be the case. Even if they get beat halfway at Atalanta 5-6, even barring these bad results, I've still got faith when Celtic beat the teams they should beat. My problem was Celtic won the beating teams they should be beating. We're also getting fucked after who they should probably be doing better. And then the elite clubs were pumping us as well. So it was becoming a wee bit of a sideshow for me. Almost like Scotland matches. It happens. I don't want to know about it. It don't hurt me anymore. But you owe it to yourself and the club sometimes when this juggernaut's rolling and that you get on board with, Bhoycie. And 100%. I was excited for the first match. I was nervous before the Dortmund match. I don't get nervous for Champions League games for a long, long time. So that told me that I did have a wee bit of excitement about it. It didn't last very long, but still. And I just don't think anybody can not be behind this team. And even Rodgers is getting his song about him. And I feel like right now that we can only get better, barring a couple of mistakes with injuries, etc. And I'm all for watching it, boys, and I'm all for getting behind it. I mean, definitely.
But the way I see it with yourself is that you've had the memories, the great European memories, obviously, going back to all that shite. But it tells me that you believe there was going to be wins in there, or there was going to be new memories to be made. Hence why you've done the Champions League package this year, and you couldn't wait to not accept it last year. I don't mean that about like you were happy to give it out, I should say, last year as opposed to using it yourself. I think that's a brilliant turnaround. That is a reflection of how the season had began and probably how it ended a bit last year as well. That tells me the enjoyment levels have went up. Now, there's a few comments that have came in earlier on in the show I just want to cover with you before we go. But in terms of overall, Marc, before I do that, in terms of the halftime report, I take it you would say Celtic have definitely got past Marc so far. Is that fair?
100%. 7 out of 7, our biggest ever European Champions League victory at Celtic Park. A bad result away from home with 2 penalties, mitigating factors. I think it's an A. For me, it's an A. The only reason we're getting an A plus is because we had that 7-1 defeat. But we've got an A. I think Celtic have gave us what we expected and probably a bit more so far, Bhoycie, if I'm being totally honest.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're right. He has mellowed. Fucking 8 out of 10. Jesus Christ. Right, okay. We'll go to the last couple of comments before we wrap up. Alan Motler comes in. Judge's verdict. When the winter window opens, should we break the transfer record and set the bar even higher? I mean, it doesn't matter about breaking the transfer record to be. It's about going out and getting the player that Rodgers wants to bring in, isn't it?
You're spot on, Bhoycie. The actual figure doesn't really matter. I get the concept. Should we be going over and above? I think if the mindset is to go over and above what we've got already, I think we should. I've got a theory, a very unpopular theory, that maybe now's the time to press a button on Hatate, get what we can for him, and build even even further in the midfield. But I totally agree with you, Bhoycie. I think the figure is, I think we've broke that hoodoo now where we don't want to spend a lot of money. We've done a wee bit of spending there. Let's put that to the back burner now and let's start concentrating on quality.
Should the player though that Brendan wants then in January say it were to potentially break the transfer record again? Should that be prevented though, or would it be something that shouldn't be a factor in the board's mind either? It shouldn't be doing it for the sake of it. Obviously not. No signing should be for the sake of it. But if it were to break the transfer record again, should it be something we're opposed to just because we've already done it in the summer? I don't think so. But what I would say is it would be a circumstance that would lead to preventing of that. I don't think they'd be willing to go. The Ida deal broke it, the Ingles deal broke it, then in January break it again. I don't see them going that far.
No.
We should only break the transfer record if a player of that value is someone we can attain that's going to go straight into the first team mix for the first team, essentially. Let's be real.
Oh, totally spot on, mate. I couldn't put it any better. Unless they're going to come in, impact the first 11, and prove an already good first 11, then the price shouldn't really matter. And that comes on both sides of the spectrum. If it's like McCowan at £1 million who's going to improve your first 11, or whether it's a £12 million midfielder or striker that's going to improve your starting 11, for me it doesn't matter as long as one, the manager wants them, and two, it's a profile that the club, that the manager wants as well. And if the price is above what we're used to paying, the club should go for it. But I don't think it should do it just for the sake of doing it. I don't think.
No.
If the question has been there, should Celtic scout the next level of player above Ingles? Then the answer is, in my opinion, yes, always. But should the club just break it for the sake of breaking it? I don't really see the benefit in that, especially again. Some of the stuff you see now, clubs hemorrhaging money just now and signing players in 4 or 5 year contracts. Longer term with this new FIFA fair play rules with money, these things do matter now more than anything. The days of writing off 40 grand a week players, even in England, as part and parcel, these days are coming to an end because you have got.
See what you learn about that. The more you learn about that financial fair play thing, though, whilst it sounded great at the start, I'm of the belief that it was actually to maintain their status quo. Because basically it's preventing a club like, say, Brighton, for example, who sell £200 million worth of players, but they can't go all out because based on what their potential incomes are.
They're not got to do it every year, the boys say. They're not got to do it every year.
They've stopped Newcastle, and they've stopped Newcastle as well. Like, basically, I think for becoming a juggernaut, I think those rules. So again, that's I think Newcastle, when they first were taken over, the thought there would have been. They basically remember being described as the richest club in the world at that point because of who took them over, and yet you've never seen it come to fruition because they can't balance it to not breach the rules. But that also then means then the guys who are at
the very top.
It's weird. I know what you mean. Like in the long term, you think that should be sustainable. Clubs living within their means more. But I also think their agenda anyway, between me and you, between anyone, I think is that was to between me and you, squirrel face. I think it was though I think it was to maintain the status quo. Last one, Smell the Glove comes in. Jake Brendan has the January window in mind, knowing we'll have qualifying for the next season's Champions League. So what it's asking really, Marc, is do you think the January window will be with a view to tooling up for what will obviously be the banana skin of to say the least, of a Champions League playoff qualifier, at the very, very early stage of the season. We've seen the benefit, mate, of getting guys in, ahead of schedule. We've seen that doing your business early. Do I expect that to be what we get provided with? And it'll be, signing players with a view to, I generally don't, once bitten, twice shy and all that.
I will know close of play on February the 1st, however it'll be, when the window closes, the club's European ambitions for next season. If we see players coming in that are improving at a starting 11 and there's moves made on the chessboard that is the squad that makes you think we're tooling up for qualifiers, then I think you will see where the club is going to go in Europe, or at least the club's ambition. If we do the usual as you're probably suggesting, Bhoycie, the usual one out, one in, player on loan, bring a player back.
The
Then
11:59 PM signing and that.
then
I know those ones.
opportunist signings. If it's opportunist signings rather than players that have been scouted and players that have been identified and players that have just fell through the net, but now we can get them. That's when you know the club is serious about the Champions League, and because we will qualify if we win the league through the champions. But I think that still is I think that's just a playoff. I don't know if it's a qualifier then a playoff or it's just a playoff. But
I'm not sure either, to be honest with you. I've not
but
looked that
the
far.
fact of the matter is,
I know it's
Bhoycie,
going to be tricky either way.
the fact of the matter is, it's going to be like a you know, like a Dutch team that's finished maybe third or something, or a French team that's finished maybe third or fourth. This isn't going to be no mugs, and I think you'll find out. You will know more about Celtic's long term. Whether you'll find out whether this window just passed was a flash in the pan, visionary approach to Celtic, or whether it's a step in the right direction, as we spoke about earlier on. You will know that, I think, come close of play on February the 1st, Bhoycie, because I think the writing will be on the wall. And as I say, the chessboard pieces will be moved about. If we want to go into qualifiers with a real hands-on approach to qualify for this Champions League and bridge the gap even further for ourselves and Rangers, you will know that by the activity in the window, I think.
I agree totally. All right, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks so much to everyone who's joined us in a wee impromptu WNF or Judge's Verdict, whatever you want to call it. Tomorrow night, I'll probably come back on, to be honest with you, just to talk some more shite. Marc, thanks very much for doing this tonight instead. And we will catch you all later. Thanks for the Judge's Verdict at the half-term report. See you all later.
Thanks, guys.